Live from our studios here at Kukumlimli in Accra, this is Johnny Spine with me, Ernest Kojo Manu. In the bulletin this hour, World Bank largely blames Ghana's central bank for the country's economic woes. It cites delays in the introduction of monetary policy measures to deal with the worsening economic indicators. Reason for our economic situation. In this bulletin, we have details of the Africa Pulse report as it classifies Ghana as high risk of debt distress. Also, President Kofi vows to deal with persons within his government engaged in illegal mining as he admits the Galamsey fight has yielded no result while courting the support of traditional rulers.
I am not in a position to protect anybody against whom evidence is massed about their complicity in this matter.
We have details from the President's meeting with the chiefs and MMDCs as he calls for the non-politicization of this fight. Also in this package, some residents affected by flood at Tetegu in Accra have started killing their livestock and any animal they lay their hands on. They tell Joy News they are starving after losing their source of livelihoods and property to the floods.
Fowls, everything that we see around. Yeah, because we are staff. We can't get anything around, you understand? So the only thing we need from NADMO and the government is we need food.
Hello again, thanks for choosing us. The World Bank is largely blaming the Bank of Ghana for the current economic downturn. The bank, in its latest Africa Pulse report, says that, among other things, the delay in the introduction of monetary policy measures to deal with the worsening economic indicators, especially inflation, is to blame. The bank also makes a very gloomy prediction of Ghana's economy, including the projection that the GDP to debt ratio could hit 104%. We'll bring you details of all of that shortly. But as you may know, the cause of our current woes has been a political football, with the opposition accusing government of mismanagement. But government has always insisted the ravages of COVID-19 and the adverse effect of the Russia-Ukraine war is to blame for the economic downturn. But guess what? The IMF backed the government's position. Kristalina Kyogiva gave this interview to my colleague Benjamin Akapo just last month.
I am very determined for us to indeed reach an agreement by the end of this year. We started very constructive discussions already, and to the people of Ghana, like everybody on this planet, you have been hurt by exogenous shocks. First the pandemic, then Russia's war in Ukraine. And that we need to realize is not because of bad policies in the country, but because of this combination of shocks. And therefore, we have to support Ghana because you're a member, you're a strong country, you have fantastic people. But also we have to support Ghana because your strength contributes to the strength of your neighbors. It contributes to a stronger world.
We asked for 1.5 billion initially. Now they're asking for 3 billion. Will we get it?
Let's go through the discussions and then we will know.
Now, the World Bank, in its latest Africa Pulse report, gives other reasons besides COVID and the Russia-Ukraine war for our woes. My colleague Kofi, who is a data analyst with our research desk, joins me in the studio with some more detail on this report. Kofi, first of all, what, according to the World Bank, has been the role of the central bank in bringing us to this point?
So basically, the World Bank is saying that the Bank of Ghana, which is the central bank, delayed in the introduction of their monetary policies, and then that has also caused this current projection that you see on the touch screen. So the World Bank has these 5 countries that they are projecting that by the end of this year, which is 2022, these 5 countries will all record debt to GDP above 100%. So usually when Ghana is put in a certain bracket, we see ourselves with countries like Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, and Kenya. But this time around, this bracket has new countries, and we are not used to them. The first country that IMF is projecting that their debt to GDP ratio will be above 100% is Eritrea, with a projection of 234.9% by the end of 2022. Next is South Sudan itself, with a debt to GDP projection of 183.8%. There's Cape Verde with 147.7%. And there is our beloved country, Ghana, 104.6% by the end of the year. And there is also Mozambique, 102.6% by end of the year. So we decided to track Ghana's debt to GDP ratio from 2017 to IMF's projection. So you can actually see an upward trajectory right from 2017, 55.5% of debt to GDP ratio to as of June 2022, the Bank of Ghana said that they pegged our debt to GDP ratio at 78.3%. Now the IMF is projecting that by the end of the year, we'll have debt to GDP ratio of 104.6%. And this is expected to come down a bit in 2023 to 99.7%, then go up again in the election year 2024 to 101.8%. Now, just like you said, the reason that the IMF, I want to read this, it says that in Ghana, the central bank, which is Bank of Ghana, delayed in interest rate hikes until inflation soared from 13.3% in January 2022 to 19.4% in March 2022, followed by a massive depreciation of the cedi. That's also one indicator that the IMF spoke about, the depreciation of the cedi. So they actually gave us this outline, the worst performing currencies in sub-Saharan Africa. These are the 5 worst performing currencies in sub-Saharan Africa. And guess what? Ghana is number 1 with a depreciation rate to the dollar of 60%. Next is South Sudan, 50.8%. There's Sudan at 26%. Even Sudan is doing better than us, 28.6%. There's Malawi. We are not used to Malawi, 25.4%. And there's the CFA franc of 13.3%. Ghana taking the lead there. So just look at this, Ernest. This is very interesting. So right from 2017 to 2022, look at the upward trajectory of the cedi depreciation rate. So just last year, the entire 2021, the cedi lost just 4% of its value to the dollar. Now, 2022, we are just about 10 months into the year, right? And the cedi has lost 60% of its value.
It's our worst year yet.
Exactly. Look at this, bar chart versus all the other ones. You can see the variance over there is very huge. None is even getting closer to this 60% that we are talking about. But in 2019, the World Bank, in a joint statement they released with the IMF, gave their, their scorecard on our economy, because people have been, attributing this to COVID and Russia-Ukraine tension. But before COVID, this was IMF's, scorecard on our economy. So rates of external debt distress, they say, was high. Overall rates of debt distress, high. Then, granularity in the risk rating was sustainable. Then there's also the area that's not applicable. But recently we've seen Fitch actually downgrading us from a triple C to now to a double C. Now, what does it mean? It means we are actually in a very terrible zone. When you are in this double C, it actually means that default is imminent. And when you are in default, it will be very difficult for you to actually come back to your normal level. So what does this mean to our IMF program that we are looking at, about 3 billion? What does it mean if you have unsustainable debt levels? IMF is saying that in cases where a country's debt is assessed as unsustainable, the IMF is precluded from providing financial support unless the member takes steps to restore debt, sustainability, including by seeking a debt restructuring from its creditors. So we have domestic and foreign as well. So we have to weigh the two and see where we'll have to restructure our debt.
And we know that is key at the heart of the conversation, the negotiations happening. The finance minister has indicated that we don't have an agreement yet, but we know that they must make this analysis and know where we stand before they can give us a deal. Even though Kenneth Ferrata insists we'll get one before he reads the budget. But Kofi, thank you very much for bringing us those figures. Let's go on to Zoom right now and speak to an economist at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Patrick Esumin. I'm grateful that you could join us. First of all, help us understand what the World Bank is saying. What does it mean if you are at debt distress? And what will be the consequence on the economy for us?
Good evening, and good evening to viewers. So, I mean, the classification simply means that, really, our debt has reached a level that, we cannot comfortably pay our debt. So, some form of intervention is needed. Some form of intervention from our debtors is needed to help us to cope with our debt. So, our debt has reached a level where really we can't pay. I mean, given our current cash flows, it's difficult for us to pay the debt. What does this mean for the economy? Well, ordinarily, it means that we have to, so what this means is that we have to, immediately in terms of dealing with the debt, the first thing you want to do is to make sure that you don't keep piling up the debt and that you take measures to address the growth of the debt. So that's remediating. Then also going forward, you want to stabilize the debt first of all, and then start taking measures to bring down the debt.
And Doc, currently, our debt to GDP ratio stands at 48% as of June. I know that has been disputed in terms of how it is calculated, but for the World Bank to project a 104% by end of year, some find it a bit exaggerated. What is your take on this?
Yeah, it seems very pessimistic to me. I think from where we currently stand, it will take a high rate of accumulation for us to take it all the way to the 104% they are projecting. So it seems quite pessimistic.
Even if you consider the issues they raise, which is the fact that we'll have a widening deficit, the CD will continue to depreciate further, and then that will have consequence for our servicing of the debt. These are the issues they raise to back the 104 projection they make.
Yes, so I think even if you take them on their own projection of the extent of CD depreciation, we still have only 3 months to the end of the year. So if the CD continue at the current pace that we've seen over the course of the year, I'm not sure that we have to go to that extent. So it still feels quite pessimistic to me.
Right.
And I'm not sure what the projections that they are using, because it's the numerator and the denominator. So so I think if you consider that in the second quarter we grew a little bit faster than many people would have expected, maybe it still feels 104 still looks on the higher side to me.
But what will this then be, the effect of this on our negotiations with the IMF? Because the IMF needs to do a debt sustainability analysis, and per what we've seen on the books, once they come to the conclusion that your debt is not sustainable, you do not qualify for a program. The finance minister is optimistic that this time round we are going to secure a deal, and in fact he may make an announcement during the budget reading just next month. How do you see these projections and analysis and reports affecting our interaction with the IMF?
I think it just raises it makes it more likely that the debt restructuring that has been going on, that discussion is more likely to happen. It increases the chances that the debt sustainability analysis will conclude that our debt is not sustainable, and therefore the restructuring has to happen before. It seems, if you look at where we are now, it seems still it will take a break, very fast. Things have to progress very quickly before we'll be able to come up with a program before the finance minister announces the budget. But you can see that the pace of the negotiations seem to have picked up a little bit. Right. But, the debt structuring element coming in also means some more potential delay, because it means that we have to come to some agreement with our debtors before we can go ahead with the IMF program. So it just increases the possibility that the deal will delay.
Well, we'll see how that pans out. They've been meeting some stakeholders today, including the Finance Committee of Parliament, and we'll be monitoring closely on what the negotiations, what actually transpires. And thank you very much, Dr. Patrick Esumin. Let's do some other stories now. And President Akufo-Addo has vowed to deal with persons within his government found complicit in illegal mining activities. He has also admitted that Ghana's fight against illegal mining has so far yielded no results. The president made a difficult pledge of putting his presidency on the line, but still, the fight has not been won. The situation has only gotten worse. More water bodies have been polluted since and rendered useless, while farms have been either cut off or turned into proper illegal mining sites.
I am prepared to put my presidency on the line on this matter. I've heard it being said that I should be careful. Many of these people voted for me, and if I continue this exercise, perhaps they will not vote for me again. If by the grace of God I'm in a position, my party allows me to go again, and I have the health and everything to go again, that I'll not get it again. And I'll say to myself, well, this is a choice that all of us have to make as human beings. You do what you think is right, or do you do what you think will allow you to get along? I think that you do what you think is right. That is what you're required to do.
This month, as part of our hashtag No to Galamsey, we have told stories of devastating impact of illegal mining on Ghana's God-given natural resources, such as what you're about to see in this story put together by my colleague Erastus Asaridonko, an excerpt of our latest Hotline documentary, Destruction for Good.
This drone footage taken few days ago shows active mining linked to Akunta Mining Limited under the protection of armed personnel. The forest reserve is being destroyed with impunity even at the time of airing this report.
We are here at this thing, Tontokrom. The hot duties, and there are some policemen and media be here.
Despite Love News' expose on military personnel protecting miners in the Odaho section of the Apamprama Forest Reserve, security personnel are still providing protection for miners who are pillaging the reserve currently, as corroborated by the Mentiahene of Bekwai, Nana Kusi Frimpong Kotobre.
My district is Amansett Central. That is where I have my cocoa farm. In that area, there's a forest called Kobo Forest. The forest is guarded by soldiers as people mine inside the forest. I had a confrontation with the soldiers. They said they are on duty. What kind of duty is being held in the forest? Ministers and people in government are the ones protecting them. Because I can't hire military men, if I could, I would ask them to accompany me to the farm to weed.
So that's an excerpt of our documentary. But days after we aired it, we had the Asantehene Otumfuo Secretary II lament the prevalence of the menace when the U.S. ambassador paid a courtesy call on him at the Mencha Palace.
When you come to Galamsey, that is an albatross on our head. It's rather unfortunate that it's happened this way. Ghana was known as the Gold Coast, and therefore it was known. But during that time, it wasn't like the Galamsey that we are talking about. Many ones people were doing hundreds and hundreds of years ago. It was there. But unfortunately, it's gotten to a point where people are now using equipment and all that, and they don't care about the environment or anything. But the question is, who is in control of that security around the area? From the district level to the highest level, we are all talking about Galamsey. The government set up the military police to do it. Why have we not been able to stop it? So why? There's the point. Why haven't we been able to stop it?
Now, President Akufo-Addo, together with his sector ministers in the Ashanti region, are courting the support of the National House of Chiefs and MMDCEs. The president admits we've lost the fight against Galamsey, and the only way to win is a renewed fight in a manner that eschews partisanship from this menace.
Even though for centuries we have been a mining nation, mining did not pose a threat to the health of our environment and water bodies. The rules that you put in place for mining ensure that the sanctity of our lands remained intact and our water bodies remained unpolluted. Tragically, in the modern era, that is no longer the case. And that is why I've come to you today to talk about how together we can repair this dramatic situation. Since I took office on 7th January 2017, nearly 6 years ago, I have made it a central feature of my presidency to lead in the efforts to rid our country of this menace, which we all now call Galamsey. Indeed, it was an important aspect of my inaugural address of that day. It has not been easy. It has not been popular. And we have not got the immediate results that I was looking for. My stance on the issue cost my party and I significant losses in the mining communities. It turned out that my statement that I was putting my presidency on the line in the fight against Galamsey was neither bombast nor recklessness. It was the simple truth. We have tried many initiatives, including that of the community mining scheme and the establishment of a new legal regime for dealing with the perpetrators of this phenomenon, which has imposed severe sanctions on those Ghanaians and foreigners convicted of illegal mining. Still, we have not won the fight.
President Akufo-Addo says his office will not protect persons in government found complicit in the fight against illegal mining activities. He's announced a new legal regime where Ghanaians found complicit will spend between 15 to 20 years in jail after being fined heavily. Stiffer punishments have been prescribed for foreign nationals. Nana Ojima has more in the following report.
Illegal mining operations have been rife in parts of the country. Some persons in high political offices have been accused of being complicit in the fight against illegal mining. These include the president's representative in various metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies, as well as party members. The president says the necessary evidence should be prescribed against suspected persons. At a meeting with the MMDCs in mining communities across the country, the president asked them to clear their names by enhancing their fight against the menace.
You are my representatives in each of your metropolises, municipalities, and districts. You are the representatives of the president. It cannot be that the president at the national level is waging a war against Galamsey and you at the local level, my representatives, are compromising that fight. That cannot work. I'm not here to threaten anybody, but I want you to know that this is a struggle that I take very seriously. And I will not be in a position to protect anybody against whom evidence is masked about their complicity in this matter. What happens in Ghana is that there are accusations are made against people en blanc, in gros, MMDC. I don't operate with that. I don't operate with rumors. I'm a lawyer. So I'll always be dealing with facts. But if facts are brought, you will be invited to comment on it.
Already, the district chief executive for Bosome Frehon, Yao Danso, has been summoned to clear his name in illegal mining activities in the area. President says the passing of the DCE's spouse is keeping him from responding to the call.
Your colleague in Bosome Frehon, there have been public accusations about his involvement. He's been summoned by the Minister for Local Government to come and answer. Unfortunately for him, it has coincided with the death of his wife. And apparently tomorrow is the first week, the 1 week celebration. So he has not been able to respond. But when the 1 week celebration is over, he will have to respond. And depending on the quality of his response, we will decide what the future holds for him. But that is the process that we're going to apply to anybody against whom allegations are made.
So join the campaign with the hashtag No to Galamsey. This is Johnny's Prime with me, Ernest Kojo Manu. Still to come, some residents affected by flood at Titigu in Accra have started killing their livestock and any animal they lay their hands on. They tell Joy News they are starving and losing their source of livelihood and property to the flood.
Fowls, everything that we see around. Yeah, because we are staff, we can't get anything around, you understand? So the only thing we need from NADMO and the government is we need food.
We'll bring you details of this and many other stories here on Joy News Prime. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. Now, 11 months ago, a toll booth worker, Evelyn Gadiri, lost her job, although government had failed to honor the promise of reassigning them to perform other duties. She started hawking in the streets to survive. Besides dangerously meandering through traffic to sell her wares, the biggest challenge she faces is access to transport. She told Joy News' features editor Jojo Kobna that a driver at the Ayalolo Metro Mass denied her access to board the bus because of her disability.
Evelyn Gadri lost her job when the government of Ghana discontinued the operation of road tolls in November 2021. Although the finance minister, Kenny Ofori-Atta, stated that road toll workers will be reassigned, that promise has yet to be fulfilled 11 months later.
The toll collection personnel will be reassigned. The expected impact on productivity and reduce environmental pollution will more than offset the revenue foregone.
Evelyn has been dangerously weaving through traffic in her wheelchair, hawking to make ends meet. Evelyn exudes positive energy and wears a smile to captivate and disarm her customers. When I ask her how she commutes from Pokwase to Achimota every day to sell, her smile quickly fades.
I am really pained. The Metro Mass driver disrespected me because of my disability. The driver even threw my things out.
She says getting access to transportation is always a major challenge.
Getting access to Trotro is difficult. The driver has no time to park my wheelchair.
She vividly describes how the driver of the Ayalolo bus denied her access.
The other time, the Metro Mass driver refused to drop me at Achimota Melcom bus stop. He took me all the way to Achimota station, so I argued with him. I asked him if he expects me to carry my wheelchair all the way to that location. He said he regretted allowing me on board and that we, the people with disabilities, are troublesome. The next time I wanted to board, he refused.
Evelyn would like Metro Mass officials to line up drivers so she can identify the driver who discriminated against her. Article 4 of Ghana's PWD Act 715 prohibits all forms of discrimination against persons with disabilities. But Evelyn says that is only on paper. She wants authorities to look into the matter and punish the driver who denied her access on board the Alolo bus. Jojo Kobna, Joy News.
Now, some residents affected by floods at Titigu in Accra have started killing their livestock and any animal they lay their hands on. They tell Joy News they are starving after losing their source of livelihood and properties to the flood that has displaced more than 1,000 people. The displaced persons tell Joy News more than 48 hours after they were forced from their homes by the flood, they are yet to receive relief items from the National Disaster Management Organization. They are pleading for mattresses, beddings, and food. Maxwell Alba reports.
We're here in the Titigu community, one of the badly worst hit, areas of the flood. You can see this military truck here helping residents move their household appliances to dry land. This is the only dry land we can see here at Titigu right now. And what is happening in the background here, some of the residents have started killing their livestock, preparing them, cooking them, and then sharing them amongst themselves. They tell me that many of them have started dying, so this is what they are doing. Some of them are also raising concern about relief items. They tell me that 72 hours after flood displaced many of them, they are yet to receive relief items from the National Disaster Management Organization. Let me speak to some of them. Hi, sir, what's your name?
My name is Clifford.
Clifford. Yeah. You were raising concerns about relief items. You're saying that 72 hours you've not received any relief item from
this today making the third day and we have not received anything, not even student mattress to sleep. We don't have anywhere to sleep. This is how we just gather from morning till night till the next day. We are all here, but there's nothing to do. We are just begging the government to help us. Okay. Our property are spoiled. We don't have anywhere to go. We need support from the government. That is what we need.
So you lost everything?
Yes.
And what for the interim, what would you need to?
They should bring us food and mattress.
Okay, you need food and then mattress?
Yes.
Okay. So they should bring you food? Yeah. Is that why you are killing the livestock here in this community?
Yeah, the animals, fowls, everything that we see around. Yeah, because we are staff. We can't get anything around, you understand? So the only thing we need from NADMO and the government is we need food. As you can see, the supposed assemblyman, which is called Tuna Atukpa, he tried giving us a tent and some things, foodstuffs that we can use to, sustain ourselves. That's the reason why we are here. So we are pleading to the government to give us food and some stuff that we can, sustain ourselves.
So at this point, you need food and then what? Mattress?
Yeah, mattress, mosquito nets, water and other things that can sustain us.
We know some residents in other affected areas were compelled to sleep in hotel chairs and on the floor overnight as hotels in some of the affected communities were overbooked. A room that usually takes only 2 people had to accommodate a family of 7. Maxwell was at Brooksville Hotel and our reports.
Addressing the media, Municipal Chief
Let me start with the manager, Joshua. What is the situation like? Do you still have rooms available? Or?
Yes, for today, yes, we still have rooms available. For yesterday night, we had to turn down more than 20 people because I think 3 days ago, that was on Monday, we had few people came in. Then we were not too sure. We thought they were normal guests. But yesterday was outrageous. People coming in, running in, and I think some people even at the point slept here. Yes, some slept outside because there were no
They
rooms.
slept like just right here?
Yeah, some they sat in a chair. They come in the name of I'll buy a drink. Yes, they bought a drink, but realizing the time and the situation they find themselves, because some houses have been submerged, some cannot. The unfortunate thing is that most of them went out before the houses got flooded, so they can't even access their room, and so they had to rush in here. So sometimes, like yesterday, we had to go beyond the normal norm, which ideally a double room you're supposed to have only 2 people. At a point, you need to accommodate 3, 4. The reason
these are people who don't know each other, or like
no. I mean family.
Okay, family.
Yes, with the hotel or the hospitality regulations, you wouldn't keep more than 2 people in a double room. Okay. Yes, but yesterday you had we had a family of 7 in one of our deluxe room. Ideally, that is supposed to be for 2. But you realize the situation, and we also thought that like social corporate responsibility, we wouldn't have accepted. But these are people who are having challenge, and you don't want to say only 2 people. I mean, either they wouldn't have come here, but because of the situation, they had to get shelter, so we had to accommodate them.
4 basic schools in the New Job and North Municipality of the Eastern Region have been closed down, while 2,686 persons are now displaced following last weekend's downpour. Records available indicate that the last time the flood and destruction of such magnitude occurred, it was in 1963, when the River Densu exceeded its banks, causing massive destruction to lives and property.
Addressing the media, Municipal Chief Executive for the New Job and North Municipality, Comfort Asante, disclosed that the situation has led to a closure of the Islamic Basic School, Municipal Assembly Basic School, Methodist Basic School and the Catholic Basic Schools, all in Akwadum. She added some 2,686 persons made up of 977 children and 1,708 adults have been displaced, whilst 203 households are either totally or partially collapsed.
Have been working assiduously day and night to contain the flood situation. So far, data collected throughout the municipality indicates that the worst hit communities are Akwadum and Asokore. The municipality unfortunately recorded 1 death who has since been buried. Figures of affected people recorded is 2,686, made up of 977 children, comprising 489 males and 488 females. Adults affected are 1,708. It is important to state that 203 households have either collapsed completely or partially damaged.
Coordinating Director of the New Joab and North Municipal Assembly, Alhaji Ibrahim Tijani Ampedu Amadu, hinted the Assembly has commenced a review of all building permits in some flood-prone areas. He added that all buildings without permit will be demolished.
At the last statutory planning committee meeting, this issue was discussed extensively. We realized that even those that we give permits are potential threats to the riverbeds and then the flow of the water. So the statutory planning committee has been directed that we should review some of the permitting that we have given already. And those that do not have permits, we are gradually going to pull them down. But due diligence has to be made to ensure that the right thing is done. So gradually, we do not want people to encourage people to be developing on waterways, etc. Much as
Let's do some other stories on Joy News. Primary teachers in the OT region want government to consider providing appropriate tools to augment their professional skills. They want the Teachers' Day to be declared a national holiday. Peter Senu has been speaking to some teachers in that region on the occasion of World Teachers' Day celebration and has this report.
On the occasion of World Teachers' Day, which falls on the 5th of October each year, I have been interacting with some teachers here in the OT region. Of course, there was no celebration to the effect because the area still lies under the Volta region in terms of NAT issues. But some teachers would want government to focus on declaring the day just as Farmers' Day for teachers, so that teachers would be well celebrated.
So I think the call for Teachers' Day to be declared as a national holiday, I think it's a call in the right direction, because teachers play a lot of roles in our national development, and having a day assigned to them to also be recognized as one of those playing those crucial roles in our nation development is just a call in the right direction. So I think I support the call.
I think it's a two-way. You can see it. If it is Teachers' Day and you don't go to work, so who goes to work on that day? So it's arguable that those nominated for the award, I think they can attend the award ceremony, and those who are not, I think, should hold the fort. I think that is my take on that.
It's laudable. And I think that the government should consider this with the industrial bodies, talking of nuts and other bodies.
Others also think that government must focus on the provision of infrastructure and the other tools needed for work, so that as professionals, their efforts they put into teaching these children would yield the necessary results.
It's almost 2 years now. I've never had a break because the teachers are not even there. Only few of us are around. And so I believe that the government can do well by adding more and then try to bring some incentive package for teachers who are sacrificing for their schools.
We are looking at a situation where we are teaching some of the things in abstract environment. As a science teacher, you want to talk about the beaker, you want to talk about this and that and that. And these things, you don't have them before you, or you don't have with them within your domain to even demonstrate to the students that these are the things you need to be able to do A, B, C, D. On this special occasion, we want to appeal that the tools we need to be able to work to bring the best out of us. It is a profession. You need tools to be able to deliver. And if you don't have the tools, how do you deliver? So we are only appealing to the powers that be, that if they can resource the teachers, resource our labs, provide the necessary logistics we need to be able to deliver, the work will be done without any difficulty. This is what I wish.
Some students have also extended some felicitations to their teachers on this special occasion.
We are thanking them for how far they have taught us. We thank them, and they should continue. They should never give up.
We want to thank our teachers for the great job they are doing for us on this campus. We want them to continue their great things. We see them as parents on this campus. We thank them for teaching us good things. We learn a lot from them.
This is Johnny Spine with me, Ernest Kojo Manu. We are taking another break. When we return, we'll bring you some more stories. Don't go away. Thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. Vice President Dr Mahamudu Bawumia says government is rigorously pursuing technical and vocational education and training (TVET) in a bid to equip students with skills and set the country up for the next industrial revolution. The intentional and focus attention on STEM education, according to the Vice President, is also to make Ghanaian students competitive and favorable and also create an entrepreneurial spirit among the population. Speaking at the Tamale in the northern region to mark World Teachers' Day, Dr. Bawumia assured that the Akufo-Addo Bawumia-led administration remains committed to the Teacher First policy for positive learning outcomes.
Ghana currently has 32 TVET institutions, and students are trained for free. The deliberate free policy, according to the Vice President, is to strategically position the Ghanaian student and make them competitive among their peers in other parts of the world.
The intentional and focused attention on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM, education is to equip our people to compete favorably in the world of technology and artificial intelligence. This is what will make our growing youthful population employable. This is what will make them entrepreneurial. And this is what will boost industrialization under the One District, One Factory and other initiatives.
He congratulated the Ghanaian teacher and also called on them to join government's quest to undertake deliberate interventions to transform the country.
As part of the education transformation agenda of the government, we have targeted tertiary education enrollment ratio of 40% by 2030. The current ratio of 20% is not enough to propel our nation towards the fourth industrial revolution. We are therefore investing heavily in tertiary institutions to be able to absorb the numbers graduating from the TVET and senior high schools. All these strategies to use education to transform our nation can only happen when we have our teachers on our side.
Dr. Bawumia reiterated the significance of the free senior high school policy and said the administration will not allow the cost to deny any Ghanaian education.
Government is convinced that the education transformation agenda can only be a success if no person of school-going age is left behind. We cannot afford to allow cost to deny any Ghanaian child the right to education. Thus far, the introduction of the free senior high school education system in the past 5 years has increased enrollment by 50%.
Now in showbiz, South African songstress Zahara has lamented why critics fail to shine the light on one of her biggest achievements of breaking the record of the iconic Brenda Fassie. In an interview with Lexis Bill on Joy FM, she listed a few more milestones reached, which have been deliberately ignored by her critics.
People, they want to dig things that they do not know. Why can't you talk about what you know? What they know, why can't they talk about it? I'm a record breaker. As young as I was, I came and I broken records of Sis Brenda Fassie, the icon, broken those records. It's not being talking about.
Yeah.
I came, still, when it comes to sales, I'm still #1. It hasn't been talking about, they don't talk about those things.
Yeah.
Nobody has ever sang for Tata, seen Tata in the bedroom, and Tata go and clap their hands.
Yeah.
They all see Tata in a concert or anywhere.
Yes.
I'm telling you the truth. Now, you Google it. Who's in Africa part of 100 influential women in the world? This girl, do you talk about that? You don't. Now, my album, Loliwe, is #3 in the world. I'm talking about the album, not the new one.
Yes.
The old one.
The old one.
The first one in the world, it's Benny, I think Benny something, sorry for not knowing because he's new. And then Beyonce, the new album. She's #2. #3, my album. Who talks about that? Nobody. People, they want to talk about sources say.
Negative news.
Thank you.
Well, now you know. That's it for Showbiz, and that's our show tonight. Many thanks for your company. We have more stories on myjoyonline.com.